Oh, just a ho hum 31 point lead, 30-point win for the Orlando Magic. You gotta love when you're not having to have such nail biters along the way that they can go nice and easy and not have to be too stressful, right? That's doesn't hurt. We're gonna go through all the stats of the game, go talk a little bit about the defense that we showed with we were able to hold the team under 100 points. That's incredible in the NBA of the first 10 days that we've seen. So, that right there is already going to be the front page. It should be the splash page right there. That's the number one thing that we should take away from this game. But we'll go through all of the offense with us scoring 125 points. We knew we would be able to score on this team, but it just went way easier, I think, than even we could have expected with us scoring 75 points in that first half. So that means we only scored 50 in the second. So we could have scored 150, but I think we'll take the 125 and go home and go on to Atlanta. So this is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Magic fans, by a Magic fan. I'm Edwin Valentine. I want to thank you for clicking on this live stream and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. You got to do the normal YouTube thing, so hit that like, share this video, drop a comment in the chat. And if you want to do so, hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content that I produce. And if you haven't seen, I do watch alongs for each one of the games as well as a post game. And sometimes I do a pre game as well as player profiles and a bunch of other contents along in my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on X, welcome and come on over to the YouTube page and hit that subscribe so that you can join the Orlando Magic Nation community. Now, if we go through the stats of this game, this was definitely a game where it was not a make right game necessarily because obviously the Magic are ones that we won the last game, so we definitely were able to halt the negative momentum that we were currently in with the 4 game losing streak and giving up so many points along the way, especially in those last 2 losses to okay, we played a Charlotte team that yes, we should beat. We should also beat this Washington Wizards team as well. So these are 2 wins that maybe most people will be like, oh, well, who cares? We should have beat those teams anyway. And fair enough to an extent. Yes, we should be able to beat these teams. But when you really look at it, when you're struggling as we were as a team, because Detroit shouldn't have scored over 130 points on us, uh, at really, there's not much positive that you can take until you play that next game and until you, as the Magic talked about in media day, stacking wins and stacking days and continuing to work and do little things to do better each and every time out. And that's something that the Magic did in this game. They in these last 2 games, really, by even holding the Charlotte Hornets under 110 points because they were averaging 120 points at that point, um, holding them down to 107 points, and then now holding a team in Washington that averaged over 118 points per game, which is more than what we average per game. Holding them to under 100 is, I think, just a huge accomplishment for the Magic, even if it's against Washington. I know it's like, oh, it's Washington. What is a big deal? Well, we were giving up 130 plus points already a couple times, plus another game that we gave up 120 points, right? So we got to take the victories where they come. And yes, they might feel like small victories, but that's what the Magic, as they mentioned before, again, they're going to stack them. So we take this easy one against Charlotte. Great. Cool. Another easy one against Washington. Great. Now we play an Atlanta team that might not have Trae Young in it. And then after that, we play against Boston, right? And then that game against Boston is part of the NBA Cup. So we need to win that one so that we possibly can go to Vegas, right? So again, we get to continue to go out there and continue to prove to themselves really that they can play the defense that we know they can. And I think that was, I guess, the bit that was really frustrating for most of us fans in general and all the pundits that thought they would be the third best team in the conference. And you heard all of those rumblings like in the national podcast, which rightfully, I haven't watched them just as of yet. I've been a bit busy the last couple days, but in the Bill Simmons podcast, I saw the title said the O teams, and it had Paulo's face with him in house, and I was like, oh no, like it's gonna be a negative Orlando Magic discussion, and they deserved it to an extent, going 1-4. So hopefully now that we start adding wins and we start to go over and really start to soar, and there won't be those type of discussions anymore. But again, haven't heard it yet, so I can't really speak to it, and I hope it's not doesn't sound too bad. But also, even on the Zach Lowe podcast that I saw there, that he also had a little bit of a he had Paulo's photo on his thumbnail, and it talked about the teams that are underperforming. So again, I think the Magic will be a topic in that one, and once I listen to it, then I'll probably make a video on it, as well as starting to look at the differences between the offense and the defense these past two games versus what had been in the last couple of games. Now that will be coming out, say, in the next few days, so that I have enough time to really dive deep and get good video to kind of understand where we've been. Because really, I've looked at a lot of the video, even in the Philadelphia game and the Chicago game, and even the Atlanta game. I looked at the video, and the defense didn't look so bad, to be honest. There, we weren't creating deflections, we weren't creating turnovers, and even though this isn't the NFL, we still have to have more takeaways than giveaways, right? And that was something that the Magic were underwater in after the 22 turnovers against Atlanta and the 20 turnovers against Chicago. We were definitely underwater when it came to the turnovers, and we just weren't having steals. We weren't really blocking shots all that much, even though we were in the top 10 in blocks, but it just wasn't at the same clip as it was last year. So you can just see that it seemed like an energy thing, and I think that's the part that felt disappointing, that it wasn't that, okay, we gave up KCP and we gave up Gary Harris, and all of a sudden now we don't have any guys to stop the penetration of the guards, right? It That's what it felt like, almost like they left. So all of a sudden now we have Desmond Bain, who is not a negative on the defensive end. He just isn't to the level of KCP defensively. And is that why all of a sudden we don't know how to play? Or is it just we were thinking too much about our offense, and it wasn't that the pace was too much, that it was taking away from our defense, but just we weren't playing instinctually anymore. And now all of a sudden we're thinking at every turn, and now we're missing assignments on defense, and we're not deflecting the balls that we would deflect before, because we used to be a little bit closer to the on ball to the guy who's handling the ball as the on ball defender. Like, is that what was happening, right? So us as fans were seeing it, and I'm gonna put together a bit of a video so that hopefully it's able to be more clear, even though, as I mentioned, when I watched those films, it wasn't bad. Like, we held Tyrese Maxey to under 50% shooting, and yes, he scored over 40 points, but he took 32 shots to get to it. And so it's that kind of feeling that we still had, because we were giving up so many points, that even if it wasn't necessarily true that we were playing poorly on defense, one-on-one defense, we definitely didn't seem like we were gelling as a unit. And the insertion of JI, it seemed, was really the catalyst in the Charlotte game, and he also played in this game as well. So we're back to a 10-man rotation. It seemed we were only playing really nine for those first few games, so maybe even just adding an extra person that might have helped in the, not the rotations necessarily, but it just helped in guys being able to have a little bit more rest and maybe be a bit more fresher for defense. And those are all the things we knew coming into the season that the Magic were going to have to do. We're going to have to open it up and maybe play 11 guys, because they wanted to play so fast offensively that we knew when they put the energy into the defense, it was just going to be too much for the human body to handle. So we expected there to be maybe a few minutes for Jet, or a few minutes for Jace, or a few minutes for, at the time, Noah was the one that was not getting any minutes there for a bit. And in the end, now we've started to open it up. Now we're playing 10 men consistently, and now we've seen the last like today we were able to really have garbage time minutes for Jace and for Jet to get onto the court. So that was a benefit for them, and I think it's really going to be beneficial for Jace because we need him to continue to get some more reps. But I think they Ji coming in and being the minister of defense shockingly helped our defense. So I think that's something that really was helpful last game. And in this game, he wasn't necessarily as impactful with his stats. Like if you look at his stats, he didn't have 3 blocks, he didn't have 3 steals, he didn't have that type of impact like he did in the Charlotte game. But again, I think just him being on the court and him putting in the effort that even if there aren't counting stats necessarily, when you look at the advanced stats, he still was able to have enough pressures and he was able to keep his man from scoring as often as maybe that person would have scored without him being on the court. So I think that is the definite positive. Now, if we go over some of the guys' stats, I'd say the 1-2 punch that we'd hope we're going to lead us all year were are the two that led us in this game. Really, Paulo and Franz were great in this game. They both scored over 25 points. So that's again they've both have been scoring over 20 points throughout the season, which is good to see. But it wasn't as forceful, let's say, as this one. They had their imprint in everything. Paulo was a man possessed for different parts of this game, especially in that second quarter. Paulo really was like rebounding the ball, running the ball up, and taking it, driving it down their throats, getting and ones. He was also even able to hit a couple threes. So it just you definitely felt every ounce of Paulo in this game, and that's something that we definitely need every single game, and we weren't getting it necessarily. And I think it's a lot of it might stem from his lack of jump shot right now. His mid range really hasn't been hitting as we've grown accustomed to. And it was a discussion point recently about him being one of the worst shooters of people that shoot the mid range shots. So there weren't many of those in this game. He was attacking it or going all the way to the basket or shooting his threes. And I think that's going to help him hopefully be more efficient over the course of the season and get all his stats up to an all NBA level because they were really slagging the first 5 games. Sixth game was better. This seventh game was even better. So hopefully, again, stacking days and stacking games. And hopefully, this is now the foundation for an explosion over the course of the next 5 months, however months we have, 6 months we have left in the season. But to go over the stats, in 30 minutes for Franz, he scored 25 points, 8 of 19 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 5 3-point attempts from Franz. It feels a little bit like last year, and him shooting a high percentage as he has so far this year is very encouraging, and it's just gonna again snowball. And the more confidence these guys get in their 3-point shot, the more they're gonna shoot, and us shooting more 3-pointers is going to help our math problem. If you've heard my play by plays or if you heard a couple of my post games, we'll get to it a little bit when we talk about Desmond, but really as a team, we are still in the bottom few of teams that shoot 3-pointers, and we just need to increase the output. It's just, we can't continue to do what we did last year. We need to continue to push drive so that we can pass out and hit the three. Now, in this game, we didn't shoot a great percentage overall, but as I've mentioned in my season prediction and or my bold predictions in the season preview, I think we're going to shoot around 37% overall for the course of the year as the Magic team. We shot 31.8% last year, and just math is not going to allow for the Magic to shoot as historically low as they did last year to continue. They're going to regress to the mean, just mathematics wise. They're going to do that. Plus, we have Desmond, who has been a 40% shooter in his career. We had Tyus. Jace is on the team now. There's going to be improvement, as we've seen already with Tristan's improvement from shooting threes. We were hoping Jalen could get back to the level that he had been 2 years ago in shooting threes. So AB's been improved as well. So getting those threes up are going to be very important overall as a team. And to see Franz with 5 3-pointers and hitting two is very important for our offense. And as we see, we rolled in this one. 7 for 7 from the free throw line for Franz is also a welcome sight because he's been below average for himself at the free throw line. 7 of 7, beautiful. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. So 25, 6 and 6 with 3 steals for Franz. A+ game. This is the type of game that we should be getting from Franz every game. And again, this would also get him kind of in all NBA discussions. And he may not make it. Hopefully, he's able to reach the 65 games to be eligible. But just getting in those conversations again will help the stats will help him get into those conversations. And if he's in those conversations, it just means that he's helped the team to great success. Now, Paolo he only played 26 minutes. He had 28 points in 26 minutes, shooting very efficient, 9 of 15 from the field, 3 of 6 from three, 6 3-pointers from Paolo. And that last one was kind of a heat check. He kind of stepped back. You can see he was going to shoot the whole entire time. Did a little bit of a step back, launched it, missed it, but ended up with 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, which is great. 7 of 7 from the free throw line. He started off the season great the first 5 games. In the last couple games, I guess first 4 games, then games 5 and 6, he didn't really shoot all that well from the free throw line. So his average took a bit of a hit. So 7 of 7, hopefully will bring his average back up because he was at over 80%. And if he's able to do that over the course of the entire year, get over 80%, then that just is going to give him extra points along the way and get his scoring average to a place that we expected at the beginning of the year. 11 rebounds, so another double double for Paolo. This might be his third or fourth. I don't remember already, but it's another double double. So he's doing all that he can to help Wendell, to help Goga on the boards. So 11 rebounds for Paolo. 4 assists, which is a little less than what it has been in the last few games. So we can definitely see that him and Franz are handling the ball more earlier on in the game. So that's been really a catalyst, as we've seen from the offense in the last 2 games. And I think just that little tweak in the offense on who initiates has kind of locked everything back into place. And I think we're going to just hit the ground running from here. No steals, but 2 blocks. So another impressive couple blocks coming off the weak side, been able to be big because sometimes you forget that him and Franz are so tall because they don't end up with these giant block numbers. But great numbers for Paolo so far. He started in the preseason and it's continued into the season here. Wendell Carter Jr. with his second really good game in a row. 28 minutes, 16 points, 7 of 10 from the field, 10 shots from Wendell. Very impressive. 2 of 3 from 3-point range. It seems that his 3-point shot is back. Last year is in the past. We're not going to think about last year. He seems to be stroking it well in this season. No free throws, but 12 rebounds. So another double double for Wendell. 2 blocks for him in this one. Desmond Bain is the one that I guess is taking a bit more of a step back on the offensive end. Going into the season, in my season prediction and bold predictions I wondered aloud at that point who was going to take a little bit of a step back offensively to allow Desmond to score about the same amount that he normally had in Memphis. Was it going to be Paolo and Franz? Was it going to be just Franz? Was it going to be Jalen going from 16 points a game all the way down to 10 or 11? Like who was going to be the one to give up their lion's share to fit Desmond into the offense? And the last couple of games, it looks like Desmond was just going to be the one to take the hit. And his numbers the last couple of games have not been great. It seems, as I mentioned, in the first few games, he was the one doing a lot of the initiating. He was the one that was doing initiating for himself, really. He would get the ball and make a quick decision, which is something that we've always asked for all the Magic players, is just make a decision and go quick. And that's what he was doing. So guys would come out to him while he was about to spot up, and he would pump fake and drive the ball, and he'd sometimes make the layup. Sometimes he would just stop in the mid range, and sometimes he would just get blocked. So So far in the last two games, he hasn't been the initiator of the offense as much, and the ball's gone back to Paolo and Franz, and definitely it's been something that you can see again, the difference in the offense in the last two games. Obviously, we worry about the defense, and the defense has been the key for the last two games. But you can see the efficiency in the offense being a lot better. Desmond was turning the ball over way too much. Desmond and AB have been probably the two biggest culprits of all of our turnovers. It's been a team effort. Let's not kid ourselves, but really, Desmond and AB have been the one that were really underwater when it came to assists and our assist to turnover ratio. And the Desmond, it seems, now has taken a bit of a step back with that role, and the ball's gone back to Paulo and Franz. So we'll see what Desmond's role is going to be on the team now. Of course, someone mentioned in one of my last videos that I wanted him to be what do I just want him to be a spot up shooter for 30 something $1 million a year? Kinda, like not necessarily only a spot shooter. Of course, he handles a portion of the offense. Of course, he can continue to rebound and help the team win in all the multitude of ways that he can do. But we got him to be a spacer. That was my word for him prior to the season. We need him to create space for Paolo and Franz. That's why we got him. We didn't get him to shoot a career high from 2 point range like KCP did last year, right? The KCP shot so poorly from three, but shot well from 2 point range. Great. That doesn't help our math problem, right? Us not shooting as many threes and not making as many threes and always losing that battle really was always an uphill climb for the Magic last year. And we brought in Desmond to space the floor, to shoot the ball, to be the one to bring that gravity away from the paint for Paolo and Franz to be able to drive, to be able to post up. And so far this year hasn't been the case. Another in this game, Desmond with 2 of 6 from the field for 5 total points in 19, almost 20 minutes. 1 of 3 from three. And again, that to me is the drawback right now of his game. He should be the one like Jalen shooting 7 or like Paolo and Franz shooting over 5 3 pointers per game. I assumed he would shoot 8, 9, 10 3 pointers a game this season. That's what I thought, that he was just going to be there available, not in the corner necessarily because he doesn't shoot corner threes all that well, but they would be able to create the offensive geometry needed so that Desmond could get the ball and have a little bit of space because he doesn't need that much space to launch his threes and to hit them. Now, it seems that he's struggling a bit with confidence, and that's just, like body language doctor. Let's say that I'm going to take that term from Bill Simmons, that he's not even really shooting them all that often, not nearly the way he shot it his whole entire career. So one would assume that the reason for that when he's open and he's not shooting is because he doesn't think he can hit them or just he's a bit cold at the moment. And it continued in this game. 1 of 3. Okay, it wasn't a bad game for Desmond. I really like his role in this team now being the third option, and in this game it seemed he was the fourth or fifth option. I like for him to be the third option. And if he's hitting his shot, then great. He can end up with 25, 30 points, even if he's on fire. But otherwise, him scoring late teens, 17, 18, 19 points a game, I think that's really what the Magic will need from him, especially him just creating the gravity away from the paint so that Paolo and Franz are able to drive, 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 baby. Other stats for Desmond: 5 assists. That's great. And I think the best part of this game for Desmond: 5 assists, no turnovers. Like I mentioned before, he was underwater with how many turnovers he had the first few games of the season. So maybe he's just now settling into the offense, and maybe he's not as amped because the season is kind of on its way now, and maybe that this is the Desmond we're going to have, just hopefully with a 3 point shot that is more reliable and he shoots them more often. And he added 2 steals in this one, so that's great. Jalen played about 19 minutes a game. Jalen was launching, trying to get those 3 point shots to go late in the game. He ended up with 6 points, 3 of 10 from the field, 0 of 7 from three. So, yeah, again, 7 is the number that I'm happy about. Obviously, 0, we'd like to have at least 1 or 2 in that column, but 0 of 7 from 3-point range. At least he shot the 7. He ended up with 5 assists, 5 steals. He ended up with 3 turnovers in the second half because he had 5 assists, no turnovers at the half. So that's what I really enjoyed, really more than anything from the first half of offense. 75 points is incredible, but it was the lack of turnovers. And again, turnovers are going to be the thing that will be able to, really the only thing that's going to slow down our offense, because we saw even in a game where we didn't shoot all that well from 3-point land, we still were able to score 125 points. 5 steals though, excellent. That's what we need. As I mentioned, steals and blocks. We weren't not taking the ball away from the other team, and steals was one of the ways that we were able to build our defense on, and that's why we were the second ranked defense last year. It wasn't on holding teams' effective field goal percentage down or anything like that. It really wasn't that. It was keeping teams from shooting threes, which kept everything low, but also it was just scoring, or excuse me, taking the ball away. It was the steals. That was our superpower last year, steals and blocks, and we were struggling through the first few games of the season with that. And the last couple games, we've started to now impose our will a little bit more and take the ball away. And Jalen, uh, last game it was AB because Jalen was out just managing his injuries. And this one, it was Jalen who had 5 steals in this one. AB in 24 minutes ended up scoring 8 points, 3 of 6. It's a bit low for me. I would have liked for him to be a bit more aggressive. He was aggressive there in that third quarter to help the lead balloon up to the amount that it was. So 3 of 6 for him, 0 of 2 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, which is key for him, bring up that average. 2 rebounds, 5 assists for AB, no steals, 1 block, 3 turnovers. So if you've heard my play-by-play and some of my post games for the previous games, it's been I want AB to be a 3/D, not a 3 and D, a 3/D. Hit the 3 or shoot the 3 at worst, slash and cut. He's a good cutter and he's able to go right to the basket even with the ball, without ball. He's a good driver of the basket and play defense. But I don't believe that AB right now should be the primary ball handler in any one of our units. A starter when Jalen's out, the primary ball handler on the second unit, the third unit, the fourth unit, the fifth unit, any unit. He really should not be the point guard, the main point guard, the main ball handler for any of our units right now because he's struggling. So maybe give him a little bit of time, and maybe over the course of the season, then we can build up that trust again. But right now, AB has been just so turnover prone. At least he had 5 assists in this one, but he's been so turnover prone that it hasn't really helped the team uh, offensively, because while he is scoring better, he has just been turning the ball over and stymieing the offense along the way. He got 1 block as well for AB. Tristan, this is probably the second game of the season so far. So in 5 out of 7, he's really made an imprint in this game. Presence was the name, or was the word that I had for him at the beginning of the year. And this one, he really didn't feel present in the game. 5 field goal attempts, 1 shot, 0 of 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, an assist, a steal. He just didn't feel like he was in the game for only 2 points. That's way too low for Tristan. Tristan needs to always be engaged and always attacking and always initiating and agitating and being all those other aidings. He should be that. That should be what he does. And in this one, he was not. So kind of a poor game for Tristan, but we've got plenty of these over the course of the year. And I hope that more often, way more often than not, then he's making an imprint in one of these in the game. Goga played a good amount. He played about 20 minutes, scoring a season high 15 points on 7 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. He hit that corner 3. So every time, it's kind of like from Along Came Polly, where Dennis, what was it, Seymour Hoffman hits the shot and he's like, Kobe. I feel that's what happens in my head every time I see that, when that Goga is about to shoot a three, that it just kind of like Eurobasket Goga in my head, and he hit that three, so that's great. It's good that he's shooting them. He shot two in this game, and it's good for him to continue to do so, so that we can add an extra 3 pointer or two along the way, and as I mentioned, help our math problem. I ended up with 6 rebounds, no assists, but a steal, 3 blocks in this one, no turnovers for Goga in 20 minutes of action. Tyus had probably his best game as a Magic player. 14 minutes, 6 points, 3 or 4 from the field, so season high in there. Still 0 of 1 from three, so still struggling mightily from three for this team, where we were hoping as a 40% shooter that even if he does get attacked on defense, that he can make it up on the offensive end. And unfortunately, that hadn't been the case as much. But in this one, he had a deflection or two as well, so he also seemed a little bit more engaged on the defense. So 2 rebounds and assist for Tyus as well. Ji ended up being the one. So now Noah ended up kind of getting squeezed out after playing a lot of minutes in the first in the last two games. Noah's was the one that didn't play as much, and Ji's minutes were the ones that skyrocketed. So in 15, almost 16 minutes of action, he ended up with 8 points, a season high for Ji. 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 1 from three. Though he must have had another one that, because he shot another long range shot that must have been a two with his toe on the line, but 1 of 1 from three, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. We'd hope that that'd be a little bit better, but 6 rebounds, and that's it. No assists, no steals, no blocks. So again, he didn't. It didn't feel with the counting stats, if you look at it, that he was imposing his will defensively. But that's why you have to watch the games and see that yes, like even if he didn't have a steal or a block, but him being in the right spots, him being as an imposing figure, then it really does affect the way the other team plays on the offensive end. And who knew the minister of defense would help our defense? Noah ended up with 6 points, or excuse me, 6 minutes of action, 3 points. He hit his first three of the season, which was nice. 1 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from three, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Nice number there for him. 1 steal, 2 blocks for Noah, and a turnover. Jace got in for the last little bit, and Jace hasn't been looking in the little that he has been playing. He hasn't really been looking for his shot as much, so I find that interesting. That I would think he'd be a bit more like Jet. Jet, you give him 2 minutes, Jet's going to get 3 or 4 shots up, and that's who Jet is. And I thought Jace would be a little bit more, not necessarily just jacking up shots, but definitely probing more and being a bit more shifty for him to at least penetrate and then be able to dish to one of the bigs or dish out to one of the 3 point shooters out in the wings. So that's been a bit surprising, and I don't know if necessarily why that is, but hopefully he's able to get more minutes and eventually be able to capitalize on those minutes. In his 6 minutes of actions, 0 of 1 from the field, 1 rebound. That's all for Jace. Like I said, you give Jet any time on the court, and Jet's going to get his shots up. 6 minutes of action, 1 of 3 from the field, 1 of 3 from three, 1 rebound, 2 assists for Jet. So Jet isn't just a shooter. He played pretty well in the preseason, and with the Magic not picking up his option, then it's kind of like a dead man walking year, unless they end up trading him. So I don't know if that's just why that they decided to not pick up the option, because they know they might have to trade him later on in the year, and I think that will just make it more enticing to another team that might be trying to tank, or a team that maybe just wants to get off some other money to take Jet back, but he's basically an expiring contract this year, so maybe that will be the case. But I'm on Jet Island. I think Jet can really produce in the NBA if he's in the right situation. Doesn't have to be the perfect situation. I just think in another situation with a team, maybe if he went to Charlotte, I think that would be a place for him to just work off of Lamelo and just get open shots. And I think he can shoot better than he has been shooting, but he doesn't get the opportunity as much. So if only he played a little bit better defense, and he was kind of more in the Desmond spot, he would put up 7, 8, 9 3 pointers per game and at least, hit enough that it would definitely help the spacing of the team. But that isn't the case. So that's where we are. He ended up with 1 rebound, like I said, 2 assists for his action there. So as a team, we shot 51%. 33% from three on 36 3-point shots. That actually, looking at the final total, so they, with Jet shooting them at the end of the game, then okay, we got up to an okay amount of 3-point shots, hitting 12, shooting 33% from 3-point range, only 22 free throws. That's surprising. I think that also comes to the fact that Washington really doesn't have any resistance on defense. They were giving up an average of 120 points, so that's going to go up because the Magic scored 125. Only 22 free throws for the Magic in this one. So the only 3 misses were from JI, shooting 86% overall. We ended up with 62 rebounds. Wow, 62 rebounds. That's a lot of rebounds. 62 rebounds was partially because they shot so poorly. 62 rebounds, 32 assists. That's a great number. 32 assists on 47 makes. A great job of passing the ball by the Magic in this one. And again, the only thing that's really going to stop our offense, because we scored 125 points, shooting 33% from three, is the turnovers. So we just need to keep the turnovers down, and we're going to win a lot of games. 32 assists, 13 steals, 10 blocks in this game, 15 turnovers, 10 in the second half. That's, again, it's going to actually help our turnover average. It's going to lower it, but a team versus a team like Washington, who really doesn't turn people over very often, it's a bit of a shame for us to have such a high number, but it's still better. So again, stack days, stack days. If we go quickly to Washington, their leading scorer is Keyshawn George for the season and in for this game, 17 points. Chris Middleton's only 6 points, 2 of 4 from the field in 20 minutes. So I think they're bringing it back slowly. Alex Czar, 10 points. Koulibaly, 10 points. CJ McCollum, 13 points. Cam Whitmore didn't score in the second half, ended up with 8. And that's pretty much the big numbers there, other than they shot less than 40% for, if you got to round up for them to get to 40% from the field overall. They also shot 33% from three, but only on 27 attempts because the Magic, that's what they do. They run you off the 3-point line. They shot under 500, under 50%, excuse me, from the free throw line. So that's a bit surprising. 54 rebounds for them. So the Magic out rebound them plus 8. Only 19 assists, so that's also a good job by the Magic. 7 steals is a lot for them. 9 blocks, also a good amount, with 17 turnovers. So again, we took more turnovers than we gave up. So when you do that in the NFL, it's good. In the NBA, it's good. So I know that's something that we need to continue to emphasize as much as possible. And the next game we have is going to be against Atlanta. I tried to find some info on Trae Young to see if Trae Young is going to be playing and if he's going to be one that is actually going to be available for the team and for Atlanta. So I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be playing, but if not, then I think that that's really going to help the Magic chances. Now, we haven't really done all that well actually against teams that have had guys out. Like when we played Atlanta before, Kristaps Porzingis wasn't playing, and we still lost. Ricochet and Porzingis weren't playing, and we lost. Chicago was without Kobe White, and we lost to them as well. Philadelphia didn't have Embiid or Paul George, and we lost to them. So hopefully we don't take anybody for granted anymore. I don't think we did, but we lock in, we focus, and they're able to do a better job of, again, trying to get deflections, trying to get steals. Jalen hopefully is going to be available for that game as well. He was available in the last game. He just didn't feel as Jalen-y as he could be, and now he's actually, it feels way more like Jalen is or has been himself and being that pest on offense. and or excuse me, on defense. He's not a pest on offense. He did a pretty good job on offense, other than the turnovers in this game. But that's the positive. And without Trey Young, I'm not entirely sure who they will decide to initiate their offense. If they're going to initiate through Jalen Jones, or they're going to do it through Dyson Daniels, or yeah, or they're going to be their backup point guard, or is it going to be Nikhil Alexander Walker? But we'll see who will be their initial guy. I'm sure they're trying to figure things out game by game. So maybe they're gonna try to attack the Magic in a new way than what they have the last few games without Trey Young. So we'll see. Another Southeast Division opponent. So now we're starting to pile up some of the wins against our division rivals. So that's good for any tiebreakers later on in the year. I know they say it's a long season and 82 games and it's only October, but every game matters, especially if it's going to be a tight race in the Eastern Conference. We need to win every game that we can. And I know it's human nature to not give it your 100% every single time, but if you can give 97% every single time, I think that would be pretty good for this Magic team with all the amount of talent that we have on it. So, and potential, because we have a bunch of guys on the bench that have potential, and I think that they will be able to play well overall this season. So all right, little bit of a run for the Magic. 2 wins in a row after the 4 losses in a row. Hopefully this year the Magic are not as streaky as they were last year. Last year we had 4 times that we lost 4 games in a row, and a couple times where we won as many as 6 in a row. So hopefully we have just one really long streak, or if we're going to be streaky, it's just win streakies. And we ended up with we might, if we can win 10 in a row at some point, not to count wins in advance, but if we were lucky enough to do so, then that would be a franchise record. And we're hoping that this year is going to be a lot of firsts and a lot of first times since blankety blank, especially to the heydays of the 2000s or the 90s. So hopefully we have a lot of those types of stats along the way, and victories like today is just, again, it's a nice win. We should have won. We should have dominated a team like this. Winning by 31 is not something that the Magic did very often because we didn't have the offense before. But now, as you see, we have the offense, and if we play the type of defense that we know we can beat teams by 30 plus in a game, and that's a bit different for us. It's a bit surprising, and it's something that we hoped would have been the case to allow for more rests for our big guys. And again, be able to allow for the rest will help with the long season that we hope we're going to have, and continue to add victories to the win column. So we love that. So again, if you're watching this from X, then come on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, do the same. Hit that subscribe if you haven't done so. And if you want to do so, I really appreciate it. And if you're not, it's great. Just stop by after every game to listen to these post games. Or if you want a second screen experience, hit that play by play commentary when I do them. I'm mostly going to be able to do them most of the season. There might be some that I'm going to miss, and I will let you know that in advance if you're a subscriber. Otherwise, like, share, drop a comment in the chat, or drop a comment if you're watching this after the fact. Let me know what you think of how the guys played, and let me know of all the guesses you have for how we will play over the course of the season and over the course of the next game. Are we going to beat the Hawks? By how much? How we're going to do it? Are we going to do it with our defense like we hope always? Or is it going to be our offense scoring another 125 points? You let me know in the chat, or in the or with a comment at one point over the course of the season, or over the course of when you watch it. How about that? So again, I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time. Where am I? I'm a little lost on this. So yeah. So again, this is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Magic fans, by a Magic fan, I want to thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. I hope you're having a great night.